Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and a happy new year to you all. We are back. It has been such a long time, I think more than 2 weeks, and surprisingly, we are not in the pits. I was really thinking that after taking a 2-week plus break that I would be a little bit rusty and I would drop a lot, but surprisingly, that is not what happened. We are on the leaderboards currently, and I have 3 different teams that I am going to share with you guys today that have been very solid for me in the Open Great League. Now, before we get into the battles, I want to address something really quickly. My videos in the past have taken a lot of my own time, and I don't want that anymore going forward, because if I spend all of my time in these videos, then I'm not going to have time for some other projects that I'm working on. So I'm attempting to get all of this voiceover done in one take. Usually what I've done in the past is I would pause a lot and I would cut out any pauses, or I would re-record if I wasn't happy with the recording. So from now on, I'm just gonna try to take it all in one take. If there are mistakes, you guys are gonna hear the mistakes, and that is very nerve-wracking for me. But if I don't do this, I am not going to have time for this channel anymore, and I'm not gonna have time to focus on some of the things that I really wanna focus on. Like, I have a few of my own personal projects that I really wanna work on that are art-related, and I just won't have time for those if I'm putting as much time as I currently am in this channel. So usually a video like this will take me around 2 to 4 hours to record, because I re-record my voiceover so many times because I am not happy with it. But from now on, I'm just gonna try to get it all in one take. That way I can give the channel enough love and still get videos out to you guys. And I can also focus on some of the other things that I want to focus on. So with that out of the way, oh boy, I am nervous because I do not want myself to pause the recording at all. Anyways, okay, leaderboards. We are on leaderboards. Some things you might have missed. I reached veteran a couple weeks ago in the Holiday Cup, and I did it with Cottony double fire. So it was Cottony, Shadow Litwick, and Alolan Marowak. Not Shadow Alolan Marowak, just a normal Alolan Marowak. I don't have a Shadow one. And that team worked really well. I reached veteran actually on the last day that Holiday Cup was out, the last time it was out. Now it is out again, so if you want to try this team, I highly recommend it, because a lot of people started using Joltik, and this team is very good against Joltik, so that Cottony is going to be very good against it, because it is going to be resisting the Sucker Punches, so the Dark type fast move. It's not going to be resisting the Cross Poisons, however, so you have to shield those. And also, of course, Double Fire. Fire is super effective against Bug, and that is going to be pretty good against that Joltik as well. So because I was seeing Joltik everywhere, that team ended up doing really well for me on the last day of the Holiday Cup when it was out 2 weeks ago. Ever since then, I've just been mainly focusing on Great League, although there was a team in Ultra League that worked really well for me, and that is going to be Talonflame with Steelix on the safe swap and Guzzlord in the back. So that is a team I can recommend to you guys. Unfortunately, it is going to be a little bit difficult to build because there are 2 fully excelled Pokemon on that team, but it's a solid team. It has really good bulk. It was really good against the meta I was seeing, and if you guys want to use it, it's a pretty easy strategy to run. It's just a fire type on the lead with 2 Pokemon in the back. Well, actually a fire and flyer on the lead with 2 Pokemon in the back that are going to be weak to fighters. You use the Steelix to draw out any fighters if the opponent is running a fighter in their backline. And the only Pokemon that's going to be a little bit tricky for this team is going to be like a water type like Gastrodon, a Mudboy specifically, because pure water types are going to take super effective from Steelix at least, but Pokemon like Gastrodon are going to be a little bit of an issue, although Talonflame is pretty good against them as long as the Gastrodons are not running Water Pulse. Now, In Great League, for the most part, I have been running Dunsparce, Shadow Jumpluff, and Shadow Drifblim to get to leaderboards. And you guys have definitely seen this team on my channel before. I've made 2 videos on this team, and last season, it is the team that got me to Legend. So it's still very solid this season. It is currently my favorite team. I'm not going to explain too much about it because, like I said, I've already done 2 videos on this team. But I also didn't want to bring you guys the same team again, so I decided to try a few different teams as I was climbing up on the leaderboards, and there are a couple others that also worked out for me. So you guys are going to see this team first. This one is going to get us really high into the 2600s, and then I am going to use a triple shadow team, so that might be fun for some of you guys to run. It is going to be Shadow Feraligatr with Shadow Drapion on the safe swap and Shadow Steelix in the back. That one was also really good, surprisingly, and you guys can probably run it if you want to, if you're looking for something a little more fun. I wouldn't say off meta though, because the Pokemon are very, very meta, but something a little different. 3 Shadow Pokemon. I mean, come on, that's fun, right? And the final team is a team that I stole off of a friend. I ran into this friend in the GBL, and I like the team that they were using. It's very similar to a team also that I have used in the past, which is the Shadow Jumpluff, Diggersby, and Dunsparce team. But in place of Diggersby, my opponent was running a Bibarel, and I really like that idea, so it is going to be Jumpluff, Bibarel, and Dunsparce. So that team also was really good for me, and that is the team that got me 3 points away from Expert. Unfortunately, today when I played again, I dropped a lot, and we didn't reach Expert. We were 3 points away, which is really annoying, and then we went on a lose streak, but that's completely fine. Expert is still very much in range, and we're still very high up, so it's definitely doable in the next few days, hopefully. Fingers crossed. But for today, I am going to show you guys the 3 different teams and our, I would say, a pretty decent climb into the 2700s. All right, I'm going to stop rambling right now and let's just jump into these battles. This first set was basically with the Dunsparce, Shadow Jumpluff, and Shadow Drifblim team, which I feel like you guys have seen enough of on my channel. So I didn't really feel like I needed to explain much about it, but we ended up with a 4-1 in that first set, and this one took us into the 2600s. Now moving on to the next set. Again, we are going to be running the Dunsparce, Shadow Jumpluff, and Shadow Drifblim team. This is a comfort team for me. If something isn't working out for me, I will go back to this and I will run it and it will gain me points. But it looks like in our first game, we are going to be up against a Diggersby on the lead, which is terrible for us. I swap into Jumpluff and we managed to draw out a Drapion. Okay, this is okay. I can do a lot of damage with the aerial aces, and I think I can live another crunch. I won't be able to reach another aerial ace, however. I am going to come in with Dunsparce and try to roll out this down. I hope they don't reach another move. They will reach another move, and I might have to give up a shield here, but I don't. I let my Dunsparce go, and then I bring in Drifblim, and at this point, I am just going to concede because that Corsola was going to be able to astonish us down. Now moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a trainer that I faced a lot in the past few days, but they are going to be running an Ariados on the lead, and my entire team does really well against this Pokemon. I am going to go for a Rock Slide against the Ariados, which is going to be super effective. And I'm thinking if I should let the lunge go here. I do let it go. I am going to be able to reach another Rock Slide. Let's see what my opponent does. They let the Ariados go, and then they bring in a Pangoro. Okay, I swap immediately into Jumpluff, just hoping that my opponent's backline is going to be weak to this Pokemon, because actually Pangoro against Drifblim is not great. But thankfully they are staying in, but that is also telling me that whatever my opponent's third Pokemon is, it is going to be extremely weak to Jumpluff. And it turns out that it is a Shadow Feraligatr. Okay, this is not good for my Drifblim, but at least I'm able to take their final shield, and it looks like I will be able to reach another energy ball before my opponent can reach another move on their Feraligatr. I'm able to take them out, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Starmie on the lead. Okay, I should be okay here, although my backline does a lot better against this than my Dunsparce, but I am going to go for these drill runs, and I think I will be able to outpace to 2 before my opponent can reach another move. They let their Starmie go, and then they bring in a Drapion. I blind swap into Jumpluff, but I'm okay with this. At least I'm going to be able to damage it with the Aerial Aces. It takes a lot of damage from Aerial Ace. Hopefully I can reach another, but no, my opponent is going to be able to make it to that crunch, and they are going to take us out here. Now, I am going to bring in Drifblim, and I'm going to attempt to farm this down completely. I can go ahead and shield once, and then my opponent swaps out into a Jumpluff of their own. This Jumpluff is running Bullet Seed. I am going to be able to reach 2 Icy Winds before my opponent goes for a move, and they let the second one go. And it looks like my opponent is running Dazzling Gleam. What an interesting moveset for that Jumpluff. Bullet Seed and Dazzling Gleam, that's something. But my opponent is going to go ahead and top left, and we are going to take that win. Now on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a streamer. You guys should definitely check out his streams, but it looks like we are going to RPS him in this game. They led a Shadow Pidgeot on the lead into our Dunsparce. Dunsparce is going to be super effective with those rollouts and those rock slides against the Pidgeot. And then they swap into a Shadow Quagsire. I'm able to take the Shadow Quagsire out with my Jumpluff, and then my opponent is going to take our Jumpluff out with the Pidgeot, but their final Pokemon is a Shadow Poliwrath, and our final Pokemon is a Drifblim. As soon as they see the Drifblim, they go ahead and they top left. And now moving on to the final battle of the set, and the last battle I'm going to show you guys with this team. We are up against a Talonflame on the lead, and that's one of the reasons my Dunsparce lead was doing so well, is because I was seeing a lot of Talonflame leads. And my opponent safe swaps into a Goodra. I am going to bring in Jumpluff because Jumpluff is really good against Goodra. We're able to take it out, and then we're even able to go for an Aerial Ace against their Talonflame and damage them. And now here I go ahead and shield just in case the Talonflame goes for a Brave Bird. I want to keep my Dunsparce healthy because I still don't know what my opponent has in the back, and they might have something that my Drifblim is not going to be good against. However, it ends up being a Guzzlord. So, okay, something that my Drifblim is not good against, but if I can land an Icy Wind, then that's fine. But my opponent goes ahead and lets 2 drill runs go on their Guzzlord, and now it looks like I might be able to astonish them down with my Drifblim. So I'm going to bring in Drifblim here, and I'm going to try to do that. We end up astonishing them down. We live the Brutal Swing, and then I can even go for 1 Astonish against the Talonflame and take the Talonflame out, and we are going to take that win. And that is going to be another 4-1. Now keep in mind, these sets were not recorded in order, so these are recorded from the past 3 days, and then I just ended up picking my favorites for this video. Otherwise, we will have a 3-hour video, so yeah. You'll notice that the elo is shifting a little bit. Now for this next set, I don't know what came over me, but I guess I decided to channel my inner Jamie Finn because he uses only shadows on his channel, and I decided to run a triple shadow team after I take the L in that last match because I was running an entire team week to Golurk, and I got a Golurk, which is really unfortunate, and that is when I just decided to switch the Annihilate I was running on the lead for Feraligatr, and we ended up doing really well. So we don't see Triple Shadow often on my channel, but sometimes if you see it, you know it's going to be good. On the lead in our first match, we are up against a Clodsire, which is a really good lead for us. I am going to be able to hit for super effective with the Hydro Cannons, and I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever my opponent is going to throw because I want to preserve the health on my fur alligator. Now my opponent safe swaps into a Shadow Dragonair, and I am going to bring in Steelix because I have that breaking swipe that can hit for super effective. My opponent lets it go. I'm able to take their Dragonair out, and then they bring in an Annihilate. This is not great for me. I am going to bring in Drapion, and I'm just going to go for these Aqua Tails and hope that I could do something. Oh, my opponent actually ends up catching the Aqua Tail on their Clodsire. Okay, I think I still have a chance here because I have energy on my Fur Alligator. I just need to get a shield out of the way and then bring in Fur Alligator and hope that I can reach 2 Hydro Cannons before my opponent can reach another Rage Fist, and it looks like we are going to be able to do it because we reach back-to-back Hydro Cannons, take their final shield, and then the second one is going to land and take the Annihilate out, and we take that win. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a Diggersby on the lead, and this Pokemon is probably one of the trickiest Pokemons that this team can face because the backline is going to be pretty weak to it, and the Shadow Claws from our Fur Alligator are going to be resisted. Now, at least I'm going to be able to go for these super effective Hydro Cannons. I'm going to go for a second one here and take a shield from my opponent, and then I'm just hoping that I can survive a Scorching Sands and reach another Hydro Cannon. We do. I almost screamed here. Thankfully, we're able to get the Diggersby out of the way, and then my opponent is going to bring in a Talonflame. Now here, I probably could have brought in my Steelix because most likely the Talonflame is going to be running Fly and Brave Bird, but I am going to be able to go for these super effective Aqua Tails, and my opponent only has 1 shield left, so they let the first Aqua Tail go, and then I'm able to catch a Brave Bird on my Steelix, and my opponent's final Pokemon is a Toxapex, and Steelix is going to do really well against this Toxapex. I'm just going to go for these Psychic Fangs, which are going to be super effective and are going to be debuffing our opponent's defense. That way, my Thunder Fangs are going to do more damage, and my opponent is just going to go ahead and top left here because they noticed that I was going to be able to take that win. Okay, it looks like we're going to be up against another Diggersby. I'm just going to play this out the same way I played it out in the last game. I am going to go for these Hydro Cannons, and I'm going to shield the first move that they throw. Unfortunately, they bait us with a Fire Punch, which is really annoying. I could have no-shielded that, and that would have done a lot less damage than this move. But they are going to go for the Scorching Sands now. At least I'm able to reach another Hydro Cannon, and my opponent lets it go. Again, we're able to take the Diggersby out with the Fur Alligator, thank goodness. They are going to bring in a Drapion now, and I'm just going to bring in my own Drapion. I don't want to take the Aqua Tails on my Steelix. I'm not sure what my opponent's third Pokemon could be, but I usually see Diggersby with Toxapex, so I'm saving the Steelix for a potential Toxapex. However, it ends up being a Corsola, so I definitely could have had that Drapion for the Corsola, but I'm going to shield the first move they throw, and I'm going to go for a Breaking Swipe, hoping to get an attack debuff. If I get the attack debuff, which I do, thank goodness, then the Nightshades are going to be doing less damage, which is why I shielded the first one, and I'm going to be able to reach another Breaking Swipe here, but I have to take a Nightshade from this Corsola. Going to go for that Breaking Swipe, and my opponent doesn't have any shields left. It is enough to take the Corsola out. We're able to take that win. GG's to our opponent. But we got super lucky there with the debuff from the Breaking Swipe. That was definitely the reason we were able to win that game. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Morpeko, which is a terrible lead for us. I'm going to swap into Steelix and just hope that my opponent doesn't have an answer to this. They have a Venusaur, which is absolutely going to destroy us, especially since my opponent went ahead and threw a Psychic Fangs from their Morpeko. So I go ahead and shield. I'm going to go for another Psychic Fangs against the Venusaur. And then here I am just going to let this go. I have to save a shield for the Morpeko. Otherwise, Morpeko is absolutely going to destroy me. Now I decide to come in with my Drapion to go for a full farm down against that Venusaur. And that way I will have energy for the Morpeko. I need to reach the Aqua Tails against it. They let the first Aqua Tail go, gets them really low, and then my opponent swaps out into a Starmie. Okay, It looks like we are in a good position here. I am going to go for a crunch, which one-shots the Starmie. And my opponent is going to go ahead and top left because we were going to be able to Poison Sting them down and take that win. And that is going to be a 4-1 with this triple shadow team, which I'm watching this right now and I'm thinking, why didn't I just run this today? I think I could have reached expert instead of going on that terrible lose streak, because this team actually counters a lot of the Pokemon that I was seeing today. But anyways, we are going to move on to another team now. But before moving on to that team, which is going to be Shadow Jumpluff on the lead with Dunsparce and Bibarel in the back, so 2 rollout users in the back, I'm just going to show you the battle where I decided I wanted to run that team. Now, for some reason, I was running Shadow Jumpluff with Shadow Celix and Shadow Drapion, so basically the same team I was running before, but in place of Feraligatr, I put a Jumpluff and I made a team that was basically entirely weak to Alolan Sandslash and Dugong, sort of. But I do not recommend the team that I am running in the current battle. I was just running this team because I got bored. That's when I get bored, I start putting different Pokemon together that do not make sense, and I try to run whatever. I think it was based on a lot of the leads I was seeing and a lot of the backlines I was seeing. I was like, okay, I need Jumpluff on the lead for all of the ground types I was seeing, and in the back, I need something for, I guess, flyers, and I can't remember, but at the time, this team made sense. But the opponent I am up against is a friend, and they are running Jumpluff on the lead with Dunsparce and Bibarel in the back, and I really like the team. This game ends up being super, super, super close. I go for an aerial ace here, and my opponent lives with 1 HP, which is so annoying, but I'm gonna go ahead and steal that team from them because I really liked it. And for the next set, I go 5-0, but I don't record it, which I am so annoyed at myself with. However, we are going to try the team for another set, and let's get into those battles. We are going to be up against a terrible lead in the first game against a Typhlosion. I bring in Dunsparce, and my opponent brings out an Azu. Okay, this is fine. I should probably try to win switch here, but at the same time, I cannot give up both of my shields because that Typhlosion has access to Thunder Punch, and Thunder Punch is going to be super effective against my Bibarel, and at the same time, it's going to be terrible against my Jumpluff, so I kind of don't really have anywhere to run here. I'm going to go for a drill run here, and I actually am able to win switch. Now, unfortunately, my opponent has so much energy on this Pokemon, so I have to take a Thunder Punch, and I am going to be able to reach a Surf at least, but of course they're going to go ahead and shield it. I should be able to reach an Aerial Ace here before my opponent can reach another Thunder Punch, and we will be able to take them out with the Aerial Ace. But let's see what my opponent's final Pokemon is. It's going to be a Drifblim, and they are going to be able to make it to that Icy Wind. Icy Wind is going to be able to one-shot our Jumpluff, so unfortunately the first game was not so good for us. Moving on to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Ferrothorn on the lead. This is where we want to see it because unfortunately our backline is really going to struggle against this Pokemon. Both of my back two Pokemon are rollout users, and rollout is going to be resisted. So at least I can go for neutral damage with the Aerial Aces, but unfortunately my opponent is running Mirror Shot and they are going to get debuffs. So my next Aerial Ace is not going to be enough to KO this Ferrothorn. So what I end up doing is I'm going to take another Mirror Shot here. I am going to go for an Aerial Ace, but I'm going to save the energy on Jumpluff, and then I'm going to swap into my Dunsparce just in case there is something I need to draw out that my back two Pokemon are going to be weak to. Unfortunately, we have to take a Power Whip, but it looks like my opponent is going to have a backline that is going to be weak to our rollout users. They bring out a Moltres, which is telling me that the third Pokemon is also going to be weak to Dunsparce. I'm going to let this go, however, it is an ancient power, and then I am going to swap into my Bibarel. As soon as my opponent sees Bibarel, they go ahead and they top left. I wonder what could have been in the back. On to the next battle. This looks like it is going to be an RPS situation where it is in our favor. Our opponent leads Gastrodon, which is really good for my lead, and then they bring out a Wigglytuff. I decide to weaken the Wigglytuff with an Aerial Ace before swapping into Dunsparce and going for these drill runs. I'm going to go for that first drill run. Let's see what my opponent decides to do. They let it go. I am going to be able to reach another one, and my opponent lets that go as well. Okay, no one has used shields yet. I am going to be able to reach another drill run against the Gastrodon, and I don't really mind my opponent getting energy here because the body slams aren't really going to hurt our jump left that much. And it looks like my opponent's final Pokemon is going to be a Pidgeot. I am going to bring in my Bibarel immediately and start going for these Surfs. And we both have 2 shields left, so I'm going to go ahead and shield whatever my opponent is going to throw. Thankfully, they're not running Feather Dance, so they can't debuff our attack. I am going to be able to reach another Surf, and I reach a third Surf, which is going to be enough to take this Pidgeot out, and then my opponent is going to go ahead and top left. On to the next battle, we're going to be up against a Shadow Marowak on the lead, another really good lead for us, and then my opponent swaps out into a Dugong. Okay, I'm going to swap immediately into my Dunsparce and start going for these Rock Slides, which are going to be super effective, and there is a situation here where the Dugong can shield the first Rock Slide and Wind Switch. However, they let both of my Rock Slides go. I am going to go ahead and no shield the Icy Wind here. My opponent actually is lagging a lot, so I think I end up winning this because they lag so much. Actually, I think they're going to go ahead and top left because of the lag. Yeah, I'm not supposed to be getting these drill runs off here. They go ahead and they quit here, but I mean, what can you do in this situation? Both of us are trying to climb. If I just go ahead and quit for them in that game, then I'm just hurting myself. And I'm not legend yet, so I'm not in a range where I can start giving away free wins. So that's really, really unfortunate for my opponent. But yeah, we're going to take a win that we do not deserve there. Now, moving on to the next battle, we are going to be up against a terrible lead of Dugong. This time I swap into Bibarel, which I should not have done. I should have brought in my Dunsparce because I think Bibarel would have been really good against something that my opponent had in the back. And I probably should have shielded that drill run. Then I would have been able to make it to another move against this Wigglytuff, because now Wigglytuff is going to give me a really hard time here. I am going to bring in Jumpluff. I have to shield the Icy Wind that they're going to throw, and I am going to go for an Energy Ball. Let's see how this plays out. I think I end up losing this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I have to go for an Aerial Ace as well to take this Wigglytuff out. And I'm expecting my opponent to bring that Dugong back in. I swap immediately into Dunsparce, and their final Pokemon is a Gastrodon, so this is just really unfortunate for me. I'm going to go for these drill runs, but I'm not going to be able to take it out. I go ahead and use my final shield here for the Earth Power, but my opponent is going to be able to reach another Earth Power. If they had not been able to reach another Earth Power, then I might have had a chance. But this is going to KO. I was really fighting for my life here as well because I needed this win to reach Expert. But spoiler alert, we do not end up getting Expert. We end up getting a 3-2 in the set, which is not going to be enough. But it is going to put us 3 points away from Expert. So 2,747 elo, such an annoying elo to be at. And then we go on a lose streak the next day, so that was really annoying and disappointing. But the next day I also faced a lot of lag, but I was getting so hard countered. Nothing I was using was working, but I still have hope. We didn't drop too much. I dropped like 140 points, I want to say. So still very much in range of Expert, and it's still the beginning of the season, so I have a lot of time to climb. I'm not too worried about it, but that is going to be 3 teams for you guys to consider to use in the Great League. All super solid, all work really, really well against the current meta. Just pick the team that works best with your play style or that you find the most fun, and hopefully you can climb with it. But anyways, that is going to bring us to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys like my content, please consider subscribing. Maybe leave a like. It helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.